Have you ever walked away from an argument apologizing, even when you knew deep down you did nothing wrong? Have you ever felt completely drained by someone, yet strangely unable to walk away from them? Have you ever looked at a relationship, whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, or a boss, and realized you are constantly walking on eggshells, playing a game where the rules change every single day? If so, you are not crazy. You are being played. What if I told you that the invisible chains holding you back aren't made of physical force, but of carefully crafted psychological illusions? What if your greatest virtues, your kindness, your empathy, your patience, are the exact weapons being used to destroy you? Welcome to the dark side of human nature. Today, we are going to expose the hidden mechanics of manipulation. We will uncover exactly how toxic people control you, and more importantly, how you can cut the strings forever. There is a profound misunderstanding about how manipulative people operate. When we think of control, we picture dictators, raised voices, and obvious threats. We look for the monster hiding in the shadows. But the most dangerous manipulators do not look like monsters. They look like victims. They look like friends. They look like the love of your life. The hidden truth about manipulation is that it is rarely a hostile takeover. It is a slow, silent infiltration. A master manipulator does not force you to do anything. Instead, they warp your perception of reality to the point where you willingly hand over your power. They do not overpower your mind. They confuse it. They do this by hijacking your fundamental desire to be a good person. They know that if they can make you feel guilty, they can make you do absolutely anything. But how do they manage to bypass our logical brains so effectively? To understand this, we have to look closely at the psychology of the human shadow. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung warned us that every human being carries a shadow, the hidden, unhealed, and insecure parts of our psyche. Manipulators are unconscious predators. They have a terrifying sixth sense for finding your shadow. They scan you for your deepest insecurities, your fear of abandonment, your need for approval, your terrifying belief that you are not quite enough. Once they find your weakness, they exploit it using a psychological weapon known as intermittent reinforcement. They do not treat you badly all the time. If they did, you would simply leave. Instead, they give you intense affection, praise, and validation, and then, without warning, they pull it away. They replace it with silence, coldness, or subtle criticism. Your brain panics. It enters a state of withdrawal, craving that original high. You start working twice as hard to win back their approval. You become trapped in a dopamine loop of hot and cold, mistaking trauma bonding for actual love. Eventually, they deploy the ultimate psychological weapon, gaslighting. They deny your reality. They say things like, "I never said that," or "You're being too sensitive." Slowly, you stop trusting your own memory. You start relying entirely on their version of reality. When you lose trust in your own mind, the manipulator owns you. Why do they do this? Are they purely evil? The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche offers a chilling explanation through his concept of the will to power. Nietzsche believed that a fundamental driving force of human beings is the desire to exert influence and overcome their environment. But there are two ways to achieve this. The strong achieve it by mastering themselves. The weak achieve it by dominating others. Manipulative people are fundamentally weak. They possess a hollow, fragile ego. Because they cannot control their own internal chaos, they obsessively try to control you. Your submission is the only thing that makes them feel powerful. But the Stoic philosopher Epictetus holds up a mirror to our own complicity in this dynamic. 2,000 years ago, he wrote, "If someone succeeded in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." The Stoics realized a harsh but liberating truth. A manipulator only has the power that you explicitly hand over to them. They cannot control your self-worth unless you grant them permission to be the judge. When you base your value on their approval, you become their slave. When you anchor your value inside yourself, their words become meaningless noise. Let's step out of the abstract and look at how this happens in your everyday life. Think about the friend who is an eternal victim. Every conversation is a crisis. The moment you try to set a boundary or say you are too tired to help, they hit you with, "I guess I'm just on my own again. I thought you cared about me." They weaponize your empathy to drain your energy. Or consider the toxic romantic partner. When you confront them about a lie they told, they instantly flip the script. Suddenly, the argument isn't about their lie, it's about the aggressive tone you used to confront them. 30 minutes later, you are the one apologizing. They used DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Or think about the boss who piles 3 people's worth of work onto your shoulders, but frames it as a unique growth opportunity. When you ask for a raise, they imply you aren't a team player. In every single scenario, the manipulator uses guilt to disguise their exploitation. So, how do we break the spell? How do we become immune to emotional manipulation? Here are 3 practical rules to apply immediately. The power of the pause. Manipulators thrive on urgency. They want you emotional, reactive, and off balance. The Stoics teach us to insert a gap between stimulus and response. When someone tries to make you feel guilty or demands an immediate answer, say, "I need time to think about this." By pausing, you kill their momentum and allow your logical brain to step back in. Stop Jade and G. When dealing with a manipulator, never justify, argue, defend, or explain your boundaries. Manipulators do not care about your reasons. They only argue with your reasons to find loopholes. State your boundary firmly, once. "I will not tolerate being spoken to this way." If they argue, simply walk away. Silence is a boundary they cannot manipulate. Trust the pattern, not the apology. An apology without changed behavior is just manipulation in a different mask. Stop listening to their words and start watching their feet. If they hurt you, cry out in remorse, but do the exact same thing 3 weeks later, the apology was merely a tactic to hit the reset button. Believe the pattern. Ultimately, escaping a manipulative person requires a fundamental shift in your philosophy of life. You must accept that you cannot fix them. You cannot love them into being a healthy person. Your empathy is a beautiful gift, but without ironclad boundaries, it is a fatal weakness. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You cannot control whether manipulative people exist in the world. They always will. But you have absolute control over whether you let them sit at your table. It is time to take your power back. Stop seeking closure from the people who broke you. Stop hoping that if you just explain your pain clearly enough, they will suddenly develop a conscience. They won't. Your freedom begins the exact moment you stop waiting for them to change, and you decide to change yourself instead. Become a fortress. Know your worth so deeply that no one can ever weaponize your insecurities against you again. Cut the strings. Step out of the theater. And finally, become the author of your own life. If this message awakens something inside of you today, do not walk this path alone. Subscribe to Timeless Philosophy. Hit the notification bell to continue arming your mind with the greatest psychological and philosophical truths known to humanity. Like this video so others trapped in the dark can find it. And leave a comment below. What is one boundary you are committing to setting today? Until next time, protect your peace, remain stoic, and keep seeking the truth.